Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabha. Hello everyone. So today let's continue our series on the 10 great practices and vows of Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, and we're up to the 8th great vow, to constantly learn from the Buddha. So this vow may sound quite straightforward. Since we are learning Buddhism, of course we should constantly follow and learn from the Buddha. But how often? This vow tells us constantly. What does constantly means? Moment to moment, thought after thought. If we are not learning from the Buddha constantly, then we will just fall right back into our old habits in samsara. Then we'll just drown in our afflictions, worries, and troubles. If we can constantly learn from the Buddha, that's how we can realize Buddhahood. So how exactly we should constantly learn from the Buddha? To understand this vow, let's look at the sutra. Moreover, good men, to constantly follow and learn from the Buddhas is explained like this. Vairocana Tathagata of this Saha world, from the moment he first generated bodhicitta, he cultivated diligently without regression. He gave away ineffable numbers of his own bodies and lives in alms, peeling off his skin to make paper, splitting his bones to make pens, and drawing his blood to make ink, all in order to write out sutras stacked as high as Mount Sumeru. Because he values the Dharma, he is willing to sacrifice his bodies and lives, not to mention a king's throne, cities and towns, palaces and gardens, and all of his possessions. He practiced all kinds of difficult ascetic practices, ultimately realizing great Bodhi under the tree. He demonstrated all kinds of miraculous powers, produced all kinds of transformations, appeared in all kinds of Buddha's bodies, and was in all kinds of assemblies. He could be in the assemblies of all the great bodhisattvas, or the assemblies of sound hearers and practical Buddhas, or he could be in the assemblies of chakravartis, lesser kings and their retinues, or he could be in the assemblies of kshatriyas, brahmins, elders, lay Buddhists, up to the assemblies of the 8 legions of devas and nagas, and those of humans and non-humans, etc. As he dwelt in such various assemblies, with a full and perfect voice like great thunder, he brought living beings to maturity according to their preferences and wishes. He even demonstrated entering nirvana. All such practices I completely follow and learn. Now such is the case with the world-honored Vairocana, so it is with the Tathagatas in all the dust modes of all Buddha lands in the 10 directions and 3 periods of time, throughout the Dharma realm and the realm of empty space. In thought after thought, I follow and learn from them all. In this way, even if the realm of empty space ends, the realms of living beings end. The karma of living beings ends, and the afflictions of living beings end. My following and learning will never end. It continues thought after thought without interruption. In the karma of body, speech, and mind, there is no weariness. So the sutra used Vairocana Tathagata as an example. Vairocana is the Dharma body of Shakyamuni Buddha, the Dharmakaya. Since the Avatamsaka Sutra talks about the Dharma realm, so it used the name Vairocana Tathagata to represent its universal, all-pervading nature. So all Buddhas share the same Dharma body, Dharmakaya. So the Dharmakaya of Shakyamuni Buddha is Vairocana, and its Sabukaya, the rebirth body, is Lokana, and the Nimanakaya, the manifestation body, is Shakyamuni Buddha. If you want to know more about the 3 bodies, you can refer to my video on the 3 bodies of the Buddha. Okay, so what's the purpose for us to learn Buddhism? So the ultimate goal is to realize perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And these are not mere words. The sutra gives us powerful examples of what exactly the Buddha did in order to realize perfect enlightenment. So the sutra said, when the Buddha first generated bodhicitta, he cultivated diligently without regression. So it's important, if you want to realize Buddhahood, first to generate bodhicitta, and second, in order to fulfill our bodhicitta. In order to fulfill our vows, we also need to cultivate it diligently without regression. Now, maybe now we might just only generate a bit of bodhicitta. We are constantly regress from our practice, our bodhicitta, but we should really try to learn from the Buddha to cultivate diligently without regression. What we treasure the most in this life is our bodies and lives. But the Buddha, to value the Dharma, he could even give up all the things that we treasure the most, such as his bodies and lives, not to mention the king's throne and all the treasures in the world. The Buddha can give up in order to pursue the perfect enlightenment. The sutra even gave to us a bit unimaginable examples, like how the Tathagata can even peel off his skin as papers, to use his bones as pens, and to use his blood as ink to write out sutras stacked high as Mount Sumeru. Now we also see some Chinese masters in the old days, they could really do that. They could use their blood as ink and then they write out sutras like the Lotus Sutra, like the Avatamsaka Sutra. They were really real people like that in Chinese Buddhism. So it is a form of Bodhisattva practice to show, they value the Dharma over their own lives and bodies. Now, we don't really have to do that. Most of us probably can't do that because we are too attached to these physical bodies. But at least we can try to learn from the spirit of the Buddha to cultivate giving, to cultivate extensively making offerings. The Buddhas can make anything as offering to the three jewels. They can give up everything in order to pursue the perfect enlightenment. So remember the 6 parameters. First is giving. Remember the 10 great practices and vow, the 3rd great vow to extensively cultivate offerings. A bodhisattva, if you want to realize Buddhahood, you must learn how to give, to extensively cultivate offerings. If you're not willing to give up anything, you cannot really be a bodhisattva and you cannot really realize Buddhahood. Now, maybe we can't really give up our bodies and lives, but at least we should try to give up our afflictions, our worries, our laziness, and samsaric habits. We should try to be mindful of Amitabha more often in our life, to be more diligent with our nameful practice. And the sutra also talk about other examples, how the Buddha can be in all kinds of assemblies, to be with all kinds of beings, and to share the Dharma according to their preference, to their capacities, to their wishes. So a Buddha can adopt all kinds of skillful means to share the Dharma, to lead all kinds of beings to be on the path of the Dharma. So we can also learn from the Buddha, learning their wisdom, their compassion, and their skillful means. Of course, this is not an easy learning. The learning is many lifetimes of learnings. For us Pure Land practitioners, the easiest for us is to recite the name of Amitabha Buddha and vow to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. There we can realize Buddhahood quickly, and we can learn all kinds of dharmas, to know all kinds of skillful means to help save sentient beings in accordance to their preferences, capacities, and wishes. And in the sutra, it also says the Buddha will also demonstrate nirvana. Entering nirvana is a form of skillful means by the Buddha to demonstrate nirvana, to show people about impermanence so they can cultivate diligently and treasure the Dharma more. And Bodhisattva Samantabhadra says, with all of this, I will all learn from the Buddhas. So Bodhisattva Samantabhadra's vows should also be our vow. So from all the process, when the Buddha first generated bodhicitta till he realized perfect enlightenment, everything in this process we should all learn from the Buddha. And how often we should learn? Bodhisattva Samantabhadra says, in thought after thought, I will always follow and learn from them all. So remember, Bodhisattva Samantabhadra's vows always ends with, it continues thought after thought without interruption. In the karma of body, speech, and mind, there is no weariness. And that should also be our vow. That should also be our attitude. Maybe we can't really fully embody it yet, but at least that should be our attitude. We should try to learn from the Buddha constantly. Right? That's what highly enlightened bodhisattvas and Buddhas think all the time. Thought after thought, moment after moment, is how they can realize perfect enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So every thought after thought, this is what they think. Right? From the number 1 vow to the 10th vow, we should all constantly learn from the Buddha. And for Pure Land practitioners, we should always be mindful of Amitofo, moment after moment. In that way, you can definitely transcend all sufferings in life. Most importantly, have faith and vow to attain rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. In that way, you can definitely realize Buddhahood in one lifetime. Okay, so I hope this helps. Namo Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Amituofo.